Okay, let's get rolling. So today is May 26, 2020. This is a two-part training module this week. This is part one of two that will take place today and Thursday. We will be covering Reactor Connect and ratio assurance. This first presentation with Nick Pagano of Graco, he's going to go over the Reactor Connect system and how it helps installers control their proportioners on site with temperature, pressure, alarms, etc., and how reports can be viewed, saved, and forwarded. More importantly, we're going to touch a little bit on today and Thursday regarding how Reactor Connect and ratio assurance systems can be used by tech services to assist with real-time troubleshooting, as well as give you, the contractor, the ability to go back and take a look at history reports to determine what may have happened on a job site. These history reports will help us pinpoint if this was a material issue, an equipment issue, or a processing issue. These reports will also generally give us information to assist you, the contractor, with becoming more efficient and profitable. As you guys know, there are a lot of variables to spraying foam that can affect yield and performance. These reports take much of that guesswork out of what may have happened on the job site and what actually happened. So these two webinars are going to be an educational piece for the contractor to help you guys understand why you may want to consider these systems on your proportioners as a insurance piece to help with data collection in the event of a homeowner calling you about an odor or a shrinking issue. We as a manufacturer feel that the spray foam industry is moving towards a ratio reporting or ratio recording industry, where eventually we'll need to include documentation with each job on some projects. This is already being spec'd and required. Graco's making that easy for you contractors to do with these systems. If you guys have any questions during Nick's presentation, go ahead and type them in the question box, or you can click that raise your hand icon, the little red one, or go ahead and hit that green question mark icon, and I'll unmute you at the end, and we can discuss it. So these two webinars will be recorded and provided later this week to anyone who did register. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Nick Pagano with Graco to talk about Reactor Connect. Good morning, Nick.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Thanks for having me. Thanks for everyone joining the webinar this morning. I'm happy to walk through some of our new equipment with you guys. Before we get started, just a little bit about me and my background. I've been with Graco for, 22 years. I actually been in spray foam. I started my career at Guzmer. And if you've been in the industry a little while, you know Guzmer was one of the original equipment manufacturers and was acquired by Graco back in 2005. And I came to Graco through that acquisition and moved out to Minneapolis and has been here ever since. So I'm an engineer by background, but been in sales and marketing for like the last 10 or 12 years. And I'm currently the product manager for spray foam and polyurea equipment at Graco. So I'm responsible for new equipment ideas and developing new equipment with our engineers and working with our channel partners to roll out the equipment and manage the product line. So, like Dan said, it's a kind of a two-part webinar where we want to tie together our ratio assurance and our Reactor Connect hardware and software. The two can be looked at independently, or they can be looked at as kind of a partner where a lot of the information we're able to display using Reactor Connect. We can add to that information if you have the ratio assurance software and hardware on your machine, and now we can provide you reports and data on your ratio. And vice versa, if you were just using the ratio assurance hardware, it can certainly control your machine and prevent you from spraying off ratio, but you wouldn't have the data and the documentation and the reporting unless you were using a Reactor Connect product. So the two work hand in hand, and so today we'll focus on the Reactor Connect product, and then on Thursday we'll go through the ratio assurance part of the equipment. So for today's webinar, a couple objectives I'd like you guys to walk away understanding the capabilities of Reactor Connect, both from the sprayer standpoint and from the owner management standpoint of the company. There's definitely tools and features built into the Reactor Connect hardware and software that enables both of those people to use it and get a lot of information from the tool. I'm going to kind of show you some key functions of both the app and the website. We'll actually jump over to the website at the end of the presentation just to show you the interface and some navigation, and then the app. I won't be able to demo the app on the call, but it's pretty user-friendly and it has similar functionality. And then we'll walk through, the last thing is understand what data that we have and what reports are available to you, not just to prove what you applied, but it also becomes a business tool. Understanding the productivity of your machines, how efficient your crews are, what equipment's being used and how it's being used, and start having all the data at your fingertips to make better business decisions. So we'll go through some of those reports today as well. Like I mentioned, Reactor Connect has kind of been evolving over the last 3 years. It started out as a tool for sprayers where you could make changes to your machine using your phone. And that was really beneficial from sprayers not having to walk back to their rig if they're in a crawl space or an attic and it becomes inconvenient. Many times they'll just continue to spray when really if they could optimize some temperature and pressure set points, they'd improve their yield, improve their productivity by having all that, the ability to do it from your phone. It makes it very convenient. There's really no excuses anymore why they can't optimize their spray and yield by adjusting temperatures and pressures. And since then, over the last 3 years, we've evolved the tool from not just a sprayer's tool, but a great tool for owners and managers to monitor their crews, give them dashboards to view all their rigs, help troubleshoot issues by seeing real-time information about the machine, have all your spray data saved to the cloud, available to you whenever you need it, providing you dashboards, reports, help better understand your business, use that documentation to sell your jobs, provide to your customers, builders, homeowners, set yourself apart from your competition by being able to offer something not everyone is, and that's, documentation of a job well done. So when we first launched the tool, it wasn't called Reactor Connect. It really didn't have an official name. It was more like the app that was controlling your reactor, and many people just called it the Reactor app. And really, it was one screen on your phone, which we're showing there, that you can control your reactor, where you can make temperature and pressure set point changes. You can turn your heat zones on. You could, park your pump, reset the cycle count. We've built some additional tools in there now. You can view, alarms and events. There's a yield calculator that you can use to do some yield sample calculations throughout the day to make sure you're optimizing your yield. From there, we developed a multi-system dashboard where really, if you had multiple machines, as an owner, you can have the phone connected to all those machines. What we're showing here, there's 3 different machines, and you can see some high-level information. A status light, red, yellow, green, gives you a quick visual indicator, is the machine running or not running. You can see how long the machine's been on, how long it's sprayed, and how much material it's dispensed for the day. So just some top-level numbers. You can see, okay, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and my machine's running. How much have we sprayed? It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Have a quick gut check. It was a job that was supposed to spray 100 gallons. It's 2 o'clock. You can see kind of where they are. Have they sprayed 50 gallons yet? Are they close to finishing 100 gallons? So at this point, it was really just a phone being connected to the machine. We didn't really have any identifying information on who the company was. Customers would ask for the ability to log into a website and see it on a computer, not just on your phone. But until we created some additional tools, we didn't have the ability to display it on a website. We didn't know, because it was really just logged to a phone. When you log into a website, we didn't know what machines to show you. So we had to develop some account management software, which we did, and we'll get into that. But now we do have a fully functional website dashboard. You can see an example here, and there's a lot more data we can display on a big screen. You can see, again, the status of each machine, start times for the day, material used, spray times. We added lots of ratio information. What's the average ratio for the day? What's the current ratio? Have you seen any ratio alarms? And like Dan was saying, that's where the industry is trending more on ratio and proving what you sprayed. So a lot of what we're going to talk about over the next 2 days revolves around ratio, just because that's kind of the trend in the industry and where we're heading. Again, you can see on this dashboard a lot of temperature information between your actuals and set points, inlet temperatures and pressures, ratio, a number of alarms, and we'll jump onto the website and we'll kind of walk through the website. But all this is made possible based on the account management that we rolled out just a few months ago. Now, owners can better manage their fleets and better utilize this tool now if you create an account. And so what account management is, it allows you to go in there and create a user account, and from there we can attach your sprayers and people in your company and your machines all to an account, and we can then display it to you on a dashboard. So once you create this user account, there's a lot of benefits that you get that you ordinarily wouldn't get just by using the app alone with the phone. The biggest one is the multi-system dashboard on the website. You have access to all the reports. You can run the reports both from the website and from the phone. We're emailing you every day reports. Every day you'll get a summary report from your data from the day before. At the end of the week, we'll send you a weekly summary report, and at the end of the month, we'll email you a monthly summary report, kind of just summarizing all your data for your fleet over that time period. So it's a no-brainer. You don't have to think about going to run a report. It shows up in your inbox. You can quickly review it and get a sense on how your fleet was performing over that time period. The other thing that creating an account really allows you to do is manage who has access to your Reactor data. By locking your reactors into your company, you can invite whoever you want to join your company and view your data. Where before, anyone with a phone can walk up to your machine, scan the code. So if you don't want your sprayers having access to the spray data, you just want them to be able to control the machine. Now with account management, you can do that. They don't need to see all the summary data and graphs and dashboards, but you can maintain, the ability to let them use their phone just to control the machine. So now it's up to you who you share your data with. And the other useful thing with the company is it was kind of a pain before for everyone who wanted to have access to a machine to get visibility to it, because they needed to connect their phone to the reactor. And you did that by scanning a QR code on the controller of the reactor with your phone, and then it linked the phone to the reactor. But if you have multiple locations or you're not frequently in front of your machines, it was sometimes difficult to share your data across your company if you wanted multiple people to be attached to the reactor. Each person would have to scan the code. Now with account management, once you invite someone to your company, they get to see all the machines that are assigned to your company without any scanning required. It just makes it very easy for them to see your data. And they only have view only data, which means they can look at all the data, but they can't actually make adjustments to the machine. And that's kind of from a safety precaution. We want to make sure that people using the app to make adjustments are really in front of the reactor and not, mistakenly someone in an office environment touching the wrong button. So still, to keep control of your reactor, you still need to scan that QR code, and that's really meant for the sprayers who are using the machine anyway. Setting up an account, it's a pretty easy process. It takes a few minutes. There's basically four steps you walk through. First thing is you create your user account. From there, you create a company profile, and then once you have a company, you can invite users and assign reactors to your company.
I lost you, Nick. Resend you your audio pin. One second, guys.
All right, guys, I'm back. Can you guys hear me? I just was dropped off the call there.
Yep, that happened last week too for some reason.
Yeah, so.
Yep, you're good.
Okay. All right, so when you create your account, we've actually made a couple tutorial videos. They're available on YouTube under Graco's channel. And the first video kind of walks you through the first 3 steps, which is all just administrative. You can do it from your phone or your computer. How do you create the account, invite users to join your account? The second video shows you how do you actually assign the reactors to your company. And that one involves at least one person in your company being in front of the reactor with their phone to scan the machine. So we've created a second video and kind of walks you through that. Both of those videos can be linked to from the website or from our YouTube channel. So we can, make sure Icynene shares that information with you guys if you are looking for those videos. And then once you have the account, there's a couple different, things left up to your discretion. Company roles, either admins or users. Admins are the people that can actually invite other users or delete users from a company or delete reactors from a company or actually delete the company itself. So you can make the profile changes from your on your account, where a basic user can't make any of those changes. The only thing they can do is view the data and actually, since a lot of times it's the sprayers that are the users, they can actually scan the QR code and assign the reactor to the company because it makes sense. They're in front of the machine anyway. It makes it very easy. So they can actually assign the reactors to the company, but that's basically all a basic user can do. So those are up to the manager of the company to kind of assign those company roles. The other thing we talked about, view-only access versus reactor control. I mentioned that most company members need view-only, so they can look at the dashboards, look at reports. It's really the sprayers or maybe a service tech or maintenance tech who want to have control of the reactor to make some changes, and that's done by scanning the QR code personally on the reactor. A couple other new features we recently launched based on feedback from customers. Custom filters. So this is very helpful if you have a bigger company with more than a handful of machines. Say you have 2 or 3 branches, or you have a lot of rigs, and each person may not have interest in seeing all the machines on your company because they only manage one branch, or may not want to see all the machines for some reason. So each person can set up their own personal filter. And so when they look at their dashboards and run their reports, it's only going to show them the reactors that they want to see, and they can select those reactors. But if you're an owner and you want to see access to all your machines, you can not put custom filters on there and have the visibility to see everything on one dashboard or one report. So it makes it easy for people to limit the number of reactors they can see or not see based on their preference. And the other thing we just launched is the ability to actually belong as a user to multiple companies. And it sounds like, well, why would I want to be a part of multiple companies? Well, there's a couple reasons we found from people's feedback. The first is, I think going back to that example, if you have multiple branches or multiple locations, sometimes, each location sets up their own company and doesn't want to be part of a bigger company. So if you have a branch, say in Dallas and one in Austin and one in Houston, each one sets up a reactor account as an independent company. As an owner, I may want to have visibility to all those machines. So you can just join all 3 companies then and be a member of each of those companies and still get visibility to all those machines. And the other great feature of multiple companies is really from our equipment distributors or material manufacturers perspective. They have the ability to join your companies if you give them an invite. And really where that's helpful is they can give you technical support and service by having visibility to your data. So as a equipment distributor, it's very helpful to have, to help you guys talk to troubleshooting issues on the phone or talk about optimal set points. If they can see your data, now you can invite them and they can belong to multiple contractors' companies and be able to use that as a great tool for working with their customers. One thing I wanted to point out, just a recommendation, is you have the ability to give each reactor its own name. So if you have more than a few reactors, using some sort of a smart name may be helpful. And I just give you an example, you can do use the words or numbers as you want, but if you have multiple branches, maybe it's helpful to build into the name, the branch first and then a rig number. So when you're sorting your reports, you see all the units from one location will appear together because they'll alphabetize. Or if you're doing a filter, it may be quicker to filter on the word Austin or the word Houston And it gives you some idea of, where your rig is, what type of machine it is. So, just consider how you name your reactors, may be a useful tool in managing your fleet and running your reports. The reports are really the heart of being able to see the historic data and understanding how your crew and your fleet are performing. So there's a total of, I think, 9 or 10 reports right now. All these reports can either be viewed from the phone or from the website, and you have some ability to structure the reports. You can pick the report, the different reports we have. You can figure out or decide what reactors you want to appear on the report. You can decide, do you want an Excel file or a PDF for editing or for sharing? And a lot of the reports are date range driven, so you can select the date range that you want that report to run for the day, for the week, for the month. It's really up to you. I break the reports up into a couple different buckets. We have 3 different ratio reports, and I'll kind of show you. I'm going to show you some examples of these reports here in a minute. We have both a summary and a detail ratio report, and we have a ratio graph. We have a couple reports that are date range driven to kind of summarize the spray data. You can look at it on a daily basis, or you can look at it on a summary over a larger time period, and I'll show you those. And then there's some specific reports for your reactors, so you can understand the status of each machine, meaning what alarms do they have turned on, what pressure imbalances they have set, what's the software revision, all the high level information about just how the reactor is set up. You can see it all in one place. You can run reports on all the alarms that a reactor may have generated, so you can get a better sense, is there an equipment problem, or is the crew having some issues on site, by looking at all the alarms that may have been run over the day or for the week, and decided, do you need some preventive maintenance or some further training based on what kind of alarms you're getting. And then for deeper dives and troubleshooting, there's some temperature pressure graphs that are very helpful in analyzing temperature and pressure versus set point throughout the day. And of course, we have the big file, which is every 5 seconds, every 10 seconds that we're downloading data. It's keeping track of it in a spreadsheet, so you can run a big, large data report by date if you're interested in seeing the complete download of all the data. We do have samples of all these reports kind of in a brochure format. It's available on Graco's website under our Reactor Connect products. You can link to it from here, but it'll go through each of the reports and kind of give you a sample of what you're looking at. So we'll just hit on a couple of the highlights here. The top graph here would be an example of a ratio detail report. So you put in the date range, we ran this for 1 day. For each machine in your fleet, it'll tell you how much material you dispensed that day, what the average ratio for the day was, how much does the ratio vary throughout the day, kind of the full range, from the high to low. Did you experience any ratio alarms? So that'll quickly tell you if there was any ratio issues at all. If you had no alarms and you realized you were spraying all day with intolerance. And then we also summarize your temperatures and pressure information as well, so you can have all on one report, what the ratio was and where did you also spray and at the right temperatures and pressures. More of a visual way of looking at ratio is on a graph. We kind of use the green lines as your tolerance, and as long as all your data points fall within your green lines, you sprayed within your ratio tolerance for the day. If you start seeing points under or over the green lines, it's a quick visual way to understand, did you have any ratio issues? And if you did, how many issues did you have over what period of time, and how big of an issue it was. So instead of trying to analyze numbers on a spreadsheet, sometimes graphs are a quick and easy way to see the same information. A couple of the reports that we have for analyzing the reactor by job, you can look at the daily report. So you can run this report for multiple days. Like, for example, I ran this for a week, February 11th through February 17th. And what it does is over that time period, give you, reactor number 1, which in reactor number 2, just for an example, you have 2 reactors in your fleet. So for over that time period, by day, it tells you what that reactor did. So you can see on the 11th, we started at 8 o'clock, on the 12th, 7:30, so on and so forth. So you basically see a summary by day, start time and end time, alarms, material used, how many hours of spray time, how productive were you, what was the machine utilization. So you can see it by day, or you can run it for the same time period, and basically it'll summarize all that spray data for the whole time period down to one line item per reactor. So for the week, reactor number 1 sprayed 203 gallons, was on for 29 hours, it sprayed for 10 hours. Here's your machine utilization and productivity. It was actually used 5 days over that time period. Machine number 5 sprayed 92 gallons. It was only used 2 days over that time period. So you can kind of start seeing, based on the date range, if you ran it for a month or longer, how many days over that time period is your machine being used, which rig is being the most used, by how many gallons, what crew may be the most efficient, meaning on average, how many gallons per hour are they dispensing? You can see what crews are your all-stars, maybe which ones need some further training. So these are really great business tools for the owner to understand their crew, and their team on how well they're doing on the job site. Then the last graph or report I'll show you is, I mentioned the temperature pressure graph, and this is really interesting to see. We show the set points of the machine versus the actuals. You can see in parts of the day when the machine gets turned off, where pressure goes to 0. At the same time, temperature goes to 0. So it's helpful when you're trying to understand where your crews are running all day. You can see here he started the day at 140 degrees, and then he jumped up to 150 degrees. So you can kind of better understand how they're running at the set points that you want. Maybe they're having some issues at the start of the day when it's cold, and if as someone familiar with the data can look at it and be like, oh, yeah, at the start of the day, you're way too cold. You need to bump that temperature up, and give them some information that can be helpful by just seeing the data on the graph. I mentioned the yield calculator. There is a yield calculator built into the app where you can use the app, hit a start button. It'll capture the data. You go spray your area. Then the app at that point will say end. You hit the end button, and it'll ask you to input an average height, width, and thickness, and hit calculate, and it'll come up with a board per gallon, and it'll save that data to a dashboard, and you can keep track of kind of how you're performing, knowing what material you're using. You can know what the optimal board feet per gallon is for that material, and use it to make sure your settings are appropriate on the machine. The last tool I was going to show you is one that isn't currently available, but it will be, I would say, within the next 2 weeks. When you're on the Graco Reactor Connect website, in addition to the dashboard table, we'll have some summary graphs. And this will be a really nice tool to summarize your data. As a user, you can pick a date range, yesterday or today, this week or last week. There'll actually be options for this week or last month, and it'll take that data and display to you in graphical form, things like spray time, material use, cycle counts, number of alarms. You can see how they all, how your data summarizes in a quick visual format. We have been putting Reactor app hardware, or Reactor Connect hardware, on all Reactor 2 machines starting in January of 2018. So if you bought a machine in the last 2.5 years, you have the hardware. If your Reactor 2 is older than 2018, we do have some hardware kits you can buy depending on what model you have, and add it to your Reactor 2s in the field. So once you add the hardware, all this data, the dashboards, the use of the app, the reports, there's no charge, it's all free to use. You'll just have to get the hardware kit to provide your machine the cellular capability of transmitting the data. That's what I had for PowerPoint, so I'm just going to jump over to the website real quick. So I'm logged into my Reactor Connect website. This is Graco's engineering dashboard, all the machines we have running in our demo lab, but it's great to kind of show people, a big dashboard with multiple machines. You can quickly see the status of each machine, what's running today, what time did it start, all the data I explained earlier about material, power on time, ratio information. There's some information, like if you hover over the names, you can see what was the last time this data was updated, some more information about the reactor. The same thing with the column headers. If you hover over them, they'll give you some more detailed information about exactly what is this data that we're displaying here and how do we calculate it. So it kind of explains the data to you if you have some questions. Now from this screen, you can run reports. You click the Run Report button. It's going to open up this report writer, and the first thing it's going to ask you to do is select the report you want to run. So let's run the daily report. You can select the reactors that you want on your report. Maybe you only want 2 of the reactors on your report. Maybe you want all of them. I'm going to choose to pick a PDF or an Excel, and then here's where you can kind of go in and let's run it for the date range that you want. Let's run it for the month of May. Hit Run Report. Takes a couple seconds for it to grab the data, summarize it. It'll pop up here on the bottom with your report's ready as a PDF. You can click on that. It'll open it in a new tab. Very easy to read report. So basically, it's taken every single machine I had on that dashboard and given me a daily summary. So machine number 1, which all has the same number here. This one doesn't happen to have a reactor name, but you can see the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th. It's by day. This machine actually didn't run at all for the month. You can see it has no spray time, but then you scroll down to machine number 2, and there's some, on the 1st it ran for some time, but then it didn't run for a bunch of days, but then on the 11th. But you can get a sense on the daily report. Every day it summarizes each reactor by day. So you can do that for all these reports. The other thing you can do on the dashboard, you can go into the settings of the dashboard, and if you don't want to see all that data on the screen, maybe you don't care about inlet pressures and temperatures, or you don't care about number of ratio alarms because you don't have ratio installed, you can get rid of those columns. It'll just eliminate them from your table, so there's less data on there that you can look for. So there's some customization. To help manage your account, right now I'm on the dashboard. If I would go to my company information, this is how you set up a company. I have this company set up. You can see what reactors belong to that company. So on this company, I'm not an admin user. I can't make any changes, but I'm going to show you right up here is where you can toggle between multiple companies. If I go to Reactor Connect demo account, which is the company that I'm an admin for, I now have the ability to remove the reactor, or for my users, I can remove users from the company. But I can also invite users to the company. This is where I invite a user. Basically, you enter their email address, choose what you want them to be, a user or an admin, and hit send invitation, and there'll be an invitation sent to that email, and that person can then click the link and accept your invitation to join your company. I can also manage all the people already in my company, and I can choose to change them from a user to an admin, and gives them some additional, like I was explaining before, ability to make changes to the company profile. Under your personal account information, this kind of tells you what companies I belong to. If I have if someone invited me to join their company, I would see an invitation here, and this is where I would hit accept. There's really only a couple screens here on the website. You're in the company tab, or you're in the dashboard tab. And the app, it's equally as user-friendly to use. There's one screen for controlling the reactor. There's one screen for viewing multiple reactors on the dashboard, and then there's where you can generate the reports. So that wraps up what I was gonna share with you today. I'll open it up for some questions. If anyone has any questions on the tool, I'm happy to answer them for you.
Yeah, Nick, is there a visibility difference between user and admin on the reports or anything?
Not visibility right now. Both of them can view reports. The main difference is the ability to make changes to the company profile. The one thing you can do, which I didn't mention, is I'll show you. if you're an admin and you go to, your Reactor page, you can toggle this, allow access to non-company users. So what that does, it means you're allowing the sprayer to use and control the machine with the app, but he won't be in part of your company and he won't be able to run reports at all. So if you turn that on, access to reactors for non-company users. So a sprayer not part of your company is really we're calling a non-company user. He can continue to use the app to control his machine, but then he doesn't get any visibility to any dashboards or any reports. There's some, each company should kind of think through, do I want my sprayers to be a part of the company or not part of the company? And there's some pros and cons to having sprayers be part of the company or not. From a control point of view, like if you force them to be part of the company, then they can't scan the reactor. The phone won't accept it unless they're part of the company. So you can really prevent anyone from having any visibility to your reactors at all if you force everyone to be a company member.
And then as a tech guy, how many companies can I join?
There's no limit set right now. You can be in as many as you want. And so if you're in 50 companies, this little drop-down list would have 50 companies in it. And if you wanted to see, Bob Smith's spray foam business, you click Bob Smith. You wanted to see Tommy Spray Foam, you click that company. So you won't see them all on the screen at the same time. You have to pick what company you want to view based on that drop-down menu.
Gotcha. Do you know if there's a limit on number of machines attached per company? If a guy's got 30 rigs, is that a problem?
Nope, you can have as many as you want. I think for the reports right now, we have it set that it's just a high number. It's 100. If for some reason that someone has more than 100 rigs and they want to run a report, let us know. We can adjust that in the settings. I don't think it's a problem, but for now, that's just a cap we put on it just to keep the reports running efficiently.
Gotcha. Luke Wicks had a question. I'll unmute you, Luke. If the original admin who set up the Reactor Connect can no longer access the account and needs to set up new access to it, will they have to run admin access to run past reports and jobs? Will they still have full admin access to run past reports?
So let me just make sure I understand. Like the original admin is no longer with the company, and they're looking, how do I make a new person an admin to run reports? Or
no,
what
actually,
happens to the original admin?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if the guy's actually on the call right now, but what he ran into is he no longer has access. It's a newer rig. It's a H30 R2 with Reactor Connect. He cannot access the original admin code or username that he has on it, so he was going to try to set up a new account with it. Is he still going to have ability to access any past reports on there by setting up as like a new admin on it, or what's the process that he needs to go through for that?
Yeah, I mean, the only way you lose access to old reports is if you change out your cell module and you put a new cell module on the machine. So then it becomes like a new unique identifier. So the system isn't smart enough to connect the old data to an old cell module to the new data with a new. You don't necessarily lose it. You'll have two different reactors show up on your dashboard. You can just use a smart name and call it Reactor 1 old, Reactor 1 new, so you know which is which. The guy, once he creates a new user account and he has access to his data, he'll still be able to see all the historical data. You could certainly give him my contact information. It sounds a little confusing what he's trying to do. If he has any issues, have him call me directly and I can better understand what he's doing. If he needs to recover his password because he can't remember it, like every other website, there's a forgot password option, and as long as he knows what email address he used, or I guess I don't fully understand the scope of his problem.
Well,
it
would not recognize his email address either. We tried to fix it in the field the other day, but it just became not a pressing issue at that moment. We're going to try to fix it on the back end.
Yeah, he shouldn't lose any access to data.
Okay, thank you.
So Diana had a question. I'll unmute you, Diana. She asked can we get the slides to take notes or keep the information? So I think Friday I'm going to have marketing send out an email either Friday or Monday with this recording as well as Thursday's recording. And then we should be able to get you copies of the slides as well. So you'll have the recording and the copies of the slides. So hopefully that'll get you enough for what you need.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. And then the other question Diana had, Nick, was, is there a way for them to track gun types with the rigs? Is there a place to input the type of gun that they happen to be using that day, AP, AP2, clear shot, whatever it is? Is there a place for the installers to put that in their notes or anywhere into the ADM where it's going to record what gun they're using?
There's not today, but it's a great idea. I like it. We actually want to keep building on this tool and make. I was going to say we have a goal to create. You go ahead.
No, I have been tracking for some time now our guns, and we have a few different types, and some of the sprayers like some guns on some rigs, and some of them don't like them on other rigs, and I'm starting to collect data where I'm finding that there's just certain setups that like certain guns. So when I'm looking at all this data, which is great, and I love data, I love being able to look at this and see, all this information. But one thing that I have been really tracking in my company is the guns. It seems to make a big difference in how efficient we are, and if things, keep spraying. So anyway, I was just curious to see if there was a way to put somewhere for that day what guns were used, if they had to take two out, if they, what guns they attempted, and that kind of stuff. So anyway.
No, I like the idea. I'm certainly we're working on like more of a job report where you can attach chemical information, sprayer name. So having the type of gun would certainly be involved with that. For a shortcut right now, if Reactor, if your rig number 1 always uses an air purge gun and your rig number 2 always uses a clear shotgun, you can actually use the Reactor's name itself. The way you name your reactor, you can say Reactor 1 AP, Reactor 2 CS, so it actually shows up in the name if that helps you. But we don't have a designated field today where you can enter that information.
Okay, all right.
But that would really work best if Reactor 1 always had the AP gun. If your crews change from day to day, and depending on which crew they're going to switch your gun out, then it probably wouldn't make sense to name your reactor that. But if you held the same gun on the same reactor all the time, you can do that.
Okay. Thank you.
What for my own interest, what gun do you think is you guys spray the most efficient or best foam with?
Well, we just got our AP, our PC for our fusion. We just got that in, and we have been test running that, and it seemed to be going really good with the open cell. And when we switched it over to closed cell, we had some issues, but it was in a different rig. So I can't really tell if it was something going on with the rig or if it was just the product. So anyway, yeah, we do the clear shot and the fusion, and then the fusion PCs. So, but some of my stuff. Yeah.
The other thing to keep in mind is chamber size, also plays a big role on efficiency and output. So if we get to the tool to a point, I'll make sure we can include that as well, not just the gun, but what chamber size they're using.
Right, and see, each of our guns, we have them etched with their number and their chamber size. So they don't ever change. So whatever number it is, it's always that chamber. But yeah. Well, thank you.
No, thank you. Good idea.
Yeah, Diana, if you have, if you want your installer to talk to one of our tech guys, feel free to reach out to me, or if you have your own tech guy you typically go to regarding the PC. And if we need to do a 3-way call, with the helpline at Graco or with Nick, we can do that. We might be able to save you some money from going through a couple more of those cartridges with just a little, just a few minutes of education.
Well, yeah, well, as it is right now, I had that PC turned in on Friday, and this afternoon I was going to get on the horn with somebody because I don't want to get into it until I have a direct line of where I want to go to attack the problem that I'm having with it. And I have read up on some of it. I would rather speak with somebody that has experience with the PCs so that I'm not just tearing down this gun. I want to know what I'm looking at so I can, I can see this again in the future and be able to solve the problem. So I might.
So Dan, let me know. We have an engineer, I'm happy to, who's been, just following up on things like this if they pop up. If you want me to, his name's Sam, have him call Diane directly and kind of talk her through it. I'm happy to do that too. After the call, you can give me your contact information if it's something you want us to do.
Yeah, I'll do that. I've got Diana's email address, so I'll forward that on to you, Nick.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
That'll save me some phone calls.
There you go. So, from a tech service perspective, the other thing that interests me is, the ratio range percentage number that you can run on these reports. And obviously we're going to talk about that more with the ratio assurance system on Thursday, but the incoming chemical temperatures, if I'm a contractor and I want to know if my cold room or warm room is doing what it's supposed to be doing, I can look at incoming chemical temperature on these reports and see when my installer got to the job site, when he fired up, what the chemical temperature is running through that machine, and then make adjustments from there. If you've ever talked to a tech guy, I'm sure he's harped on contractors regarding drum temperatures and how important that is for spray foam quality and for overall yield and how much margin you put back in your pocket as a contractor. We want you guys to be successful. So running, 70, 75, 80 degree drum temps is important. And I've ran into a lot of situations where guys are running their warm room at 75, and then, a guy drives 2 hours to the job site. When he starts spraying, that chemical's 58, but nobody knows that because nobody's looking at it, and it creates yield issues and, pocketing and lack of expansion, high density, all that fun stuff. So that's where, from a tech service perspective, this system is, that's what excites me. So the machine utilization percentage too, Nick, is pretty awesome. If I'm a contractor and, like you mentioned last week, and I've got 4 rigs and I'm looking at buying a 5th, I log in and I see my machine utilization percentage is 10%. I probably can't justify buying a 5th machine at that point. And then the gallons per hour productivity, if I'm having conversations with my installer about raises or pay, I can pull up that machine utilization or the gallons per hour, and have a discussion with them about it, whether they're good numbers or bad numbers. And then, of course, the ability to run all those reports that you went over is good stuff. So I really think this system is going to help out contractors and tech guys equally.
Yeah, and a couple of contractors I've seen actually sort of gamify it for their crews, where they have it up on a big screen in their office, and when they come back, they see like the weekly numbers or the monthly numbers of what crew has a higher percentage, and the crews kind of take it personally and use it to kind of, improve upon it. So, they know people are looking at it and they don't want to be last on that list.
Yeah, you could create a bonus program as a contractor for your installers, or a gift card, $25 gift card for the guy that has the best, machine utilization, plus yield, kind of tie it all together. So they're not just filling up trash bags with foam, but kind of tie it all together with their job and incentivize these guys to be more efficient, because really that's what it's about. And then Chris Leger had a question. Chris, I'll unmute you. I think you're self-muted. His question was, did you want to discuss the promo, Nick, that kind of rolled out from Graco, I believe it was last week?
Sure. Yeah, so we kind of have a educational campaign we're kicking off kind of on ratio assurance, help educate the contractors and equipment distributors on our technology. I mean, I'm sure people have heard of it, but a lot of times they don't know all the details. So as part of that education, we have a sales promo going on the hardware kits. If your machines don't have ratio assurance or Reactor Connect, we have some nice discounts that are available. You can choose just to buy the hardware kits for ratio assurance and Reactor Connect, and we'll extend an extra 20% discount on those items. We also have a couple of other options if you're interested in our new Pro Connect gun, which we just talked about a little bit. It's really the ability to quickly change the front of your fusion gun to a cartridge where it eliminates your rebuild, and because you can just install all new parts with one cartridge. If you buy a PC gun, then we'll give you a 25% discount on the Reactor Connect hardware and ratio hardware. And the third option would be if you buy a Pro Connect gun and the new whip hose. We just launched about a month ago a new lightweight, ultra flexible whip hose. If you buy those two things, then we'll sell you the ratio and Reactor Connect hardware at a 30% discount. So you can really bundle and save by, if you're interested in upgrading on some of the other Graco new hoses and guns, you can really save some nice money on the ratio hardware and Reactor Connect hardware at the same time. So that's running through the end of July through your equipment distributors. And so Dan and Chris and guys at Untitled can give you your exact pricing on that with those discounts built in.
Yeah, guys, keep that in mind. Those numbers that he's talking about, we're gonna roll that over to y'all. So that's an additional 20%, 30%, whatever it is, whatever package y'all are looking at. So if you have a price set up with us now, we're gonna roll those savings that Graco is giving us directly to y'all. So please reach out to me, Gerald, your sales guy, your tech guy, whatever, and we can get you quoted on that.
The other thing I just wanted to mention, if as a contractor or even you're looking at our reports and there just doesn't seem to be the information that you would think was useful or some way you like to look at your data, get that info back to me. We have a lot of flexibility on creating new reports. I'm always interested to hear from a contractor perspective, what does the business tool look like that they're looking for? How do they run their business? If we can analyze the data we collected and present it to you in a different way just by creating a new report, we're happy to do that. Creating reports is pretty easy to do now that we have the tool in place. We have the website, the app, we have the way to create reports. It's really just adding new reports to our drop-down menu. So if there's data you're looking for, get it through your sales guys, get it through your equipment distributors. They'll get the information to me, and I can work with the engineering team to make that a standard report so you don't have to do some extra analysis in Excel. I've seen a lot of customers take my data, put it in Excel, and then they start running their own formulas and extrapolation on it, and we'll just do it for you. If it's possible, I'll make the report so we can just click it and download it and not have to worry about any additional analysis.
Yep, that's good stuff, Nick. I don't see any other question marks or hand raises. So we've got a few minutes left. I think we're good to go ahead and end it. We've got another one scheduled for Thursday, 11 o'clock Eastern. We will get into the ratio assurance system with Nick and kind of talk about all of the systems and features with that. With that being said, as long as there's not any other questions, I appreciate you guys jumping on today, and we'll hopefully see you Thursday as well.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, guys.